Gavan and Melanine, and well met indeed. I am Arakir Galadirthan, the head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer, but welcome back to Age of Empires 2 HD with all 3 expansions as we play another game with the Steam group, which is a group I set up on Steam for people to play games with myself. However, we've almost certainly focused almost solely on Age of Empires games, but there are certainly various other games in play now, and also there's a Discord channel as well linked to that. Search Steam for the Brotherhood of the Swan if you wish to join. So I'm going to bring an Age of Empires video. Now, the Gondor video should have gone up today, but I thought, screw it, let's add some more variety to our little roster. And this is certainly variety. So this is a very interesting little game of 4 versus 4. Let's get them kicked off. You guys get cracking, have fun with that. I, Galu, am playing as my somewhat favourite faction, the Berbers. I'm up there on the west. My ally, and one next to me, one over, is the Silver Elite, playing as the Ethiopians. He is allied to me. Further to the north is the Byzantines under Big Pollet. He is also allied to us. And then far and away, our best player, but furthest from me, is Brasidas. Brasidas, I don't know. Some Greek general, apparently. And he is over here playing as the Indians, arguably his favourite nation. And up against us today is the Englishman from far up north, Aof or Aof Road. Aof Road. Got there in the end. Aof Road. He's playing as the Ethiopians as well, so 2 Ethiopian players. Further to the south, his ally are the Teutons under Super Ginge. He's relatively newcomer. No, he's not. Sorry, no, he's not. It's Thornlord that's relatively newcomer. Dazui, probably the game's best player and arguably the group's best player since Grumpy Pirate has taken something of a step back. And he's playing as his new favourite faction, the Malay. And further round to the north is Thornlord Arthin. Where that's Sindarin, it'd be Arthun. And he's playing as the Byzantines as well. So 2 Byzantine players, 2 Ethiopian players. It's going to be an interesting little matchup. So in terms of skill level, I'm not too shabbalabby. I'm improving massively. Not as much in this episode, but certainly in future episodes, my skills coming along greatly. I've tried to gen up on things that I previously didn't know. Silver Elite is very much a wild card, as I said before in the last video. Sometimes he's very, 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 very useful, and other times he's virtually non-existent. Big Pollet falls into that exact same category. Sometimes he's remarkably strong, other times he's not. Brasidas is always dependable, always good. Thornlord is really very new. Like in this game, is virtually basically brand new. So, as you may be able to tell by the fact that he's built a house next to his town centre and he's harvesting turkeys next to the mill. Telltale signs of a newcomer to the game, but no slight on that. Dazui, obviously, as I say, is the best player. Super Ginge is very good as well. Something of an outsider, but a good player. And Aof Road, again, is improving massively and is really becoming a valuable asset. Now, if you're wondering why he's built a palisade wall around his town, is because this is a sudden death game. I believe that's what it's called anyway. And essentially, all that means is you cannot build a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, multiple town centres, and you can only have the one, and if it is destroyed, you are out of the game. So it makes it very much, rather than a full-on fight between enemies, it makes it something of a slog to the town centre. This map was suggested by those that played in it as a good one to showcase, especially from Dazui, who he sent me a message about possibly doing this game. And there's another, it was this or another one, and I'll hope to bring you the other one a little later on. Hopefully, anyway, because there's another update coming out and it will probably make the game not work. So I will do my best as ever to try and give equal attention to the sides of the battle map. So I'm over here on the left, Brasidas over there on the right, 2 clear theatres of war. Not much really happens in the middle until much later on. But obviously I tend to focus these on me, as I say almost every time, because I knew what I was doing. So I may naturally, unfortunately, favour myself, and I apologise for that. In fact, I often leave it ticked on myself. But let's speed it up as we all rattle through the Dark Age. I start very, very close to Aof Road, as you can see. But if we turn off the Fog of War and see what I can see, I've not yet found anyone. I've just been scouting around my base, which is something I tend to always do in team games, to be honest. I always think someone else will find them all, so sod it. Now, this game is played slightly differently by most players because you have to hold on to your town centre. And so there's a much more defensive you're more naturally defensive in these kind of games. To ensure that your town centre doesn't fall, you build more kind of layers of defence around it. Evident by my own 5-house wall I've got going there. But the teams are reasonably balanced. Super Ginge is definitely an answer to me. AF Road, Silver Elite and Big Pollet are all in the same sort of category, and Dazui is sufficiently better than Brassidas to negate the fact that Thornlord is brand new. So it was a reasonably balanced game. And at the moment, as you can see, everyone is just scouting around. Allow me to, as ever, always just declare that we are by no way experts. We're just people who enjoy the game. And if you too fear playing against experts or playing a game and fearing that someone's going to shout at you for not doing X, Y, Z, then please do come and join us. So, Average People Play is the name I've started to give these Age of Empires videos, and I think it's rather apt. Despite the gentleman in the comments of the video last time who told me to stop telling you that you're average, we get it. Jesus. But so hopefully this will jazz up the order for the week. That's the aim, that's the hope anyway. AF Road immediately walling me out. Thornlord building a ton of outposts along that river line rather than walling. He's wasting a lot of resources building those outposts, it has to be said, but each to their own. Dazui is very much a boomer. He just loves booming. He goes mad for it, and then he just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. Most times, people tend to resign against Dazui, not necessarily because he's actually beaten them, but because they look at his base and they just think, like, I just can't be bothered to fight on as much as I'm going to have to beat you. Which is a call. But it's nothing to take away from his skill. He is very, 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 very powerful. So, in terms of the group, anyway. But I am, just to spoil you all with what I'm planning on doing, I'm planning on dropping a castle somewhere near to AF Road. It's a tactic I was using heavily back when this time was going on. Now, if Silver Elite says anything untoward... Oh, sorry, I've probably just rattled the desk. If he says anything untoward in the chat, I can only apologise for his foul mouth. Unfortunately, now that we've all come to use Discord, we all use Discord, but... Silver Elite doesn't speak in Discord, so and neither does Thornlord Arthune. So those two talk to each other or speak into the chat a lot more than anyone else, because the rest of us just all say what we're thinking. But we're all feudal now, save for AF Road, because his palisade wall has, dare I say, dicked him over. But he has walled himself in there, and he's walled himself in there. My villager has just found him. I will head over to the right-hand side when something kicks off there, because it does reasonably soon. Brassidas favours the symmetrical look to the town centre in terms of farms. Now, I'm going hard on houses for some reason. But houses it must be. I mean, I've already got what we need to be going up to castle. I'm surprised I'm not already on the way there. Probably recruiting something out of the town centre, maybe. I don't know. We just haven't paid attention. There we are. We're on our way. And in light of that, I know I've got to get through this palisade wall, and as they're not normally too hard to destroy, I thought I might as well start work on that. But back over to the other side, Super Ginge building a long line of houses, and in there he's got some farms up as well. His woodcutters are quite a way away there. AF Road, as I say, is behind many of us. He can't build farms around his town centre, so he's had to abandon that and build mills elsewhere. Brassidas sending in, as he is castle age now already, as is Dazui. He is sending in some camels to attack Thornlord. So our attention is turned to Thornlord for the time, as Brassidas' camel rush with the Indians heads out. Indians, of course, have a totally unique architecture style in the later games, and it's most welcome indeed. Super Jin's sending some villagers and whatnot over. I've walled AF Road's wall in, and for a long time, actually, I totally ignore the wall that he has there, which is reasonably foolish, but my villagers heading up to the top of that hill. And I have reached the castle age and immediately plop a castle there. Just giving me a bit of... I didn't want to totally castle drop AF Road because it was a bit, well, rude really. And I didn't want to be too much of a douche. But Brassidas just kind of scouting at the moment, really, with his camels. If we swap over to Brassidas and see what he can say... Oh, well, if you just leave it on me and turn off the fog of war. He knows where Thornlord is, but he's just scouting around, just playing for time, almost. And he has arrived at Thorn. Now, the problem we have here is that Brasidas, arguably, unless Thornlord goes for all his villages in his town centre, and the pressure that's going to just keep coming, can really start to lay some real pressure on the town centre. And the problem with these games is because your town centre suddenly becomes important, you have a far more... You react a lot more if anything starts attacking it. Like, you start panicking straight away if anything is attacking it. So even though those camels would take a long time to bring down a town centre because they're not very good against buildings, they would still make Thornlord fear that he's got some real worries. Over on my side, I've dropped the castle, start putting camel archers into it, and I am walling the castle in, a little thing I like to do, mostly for aesthetic purposes. But as you can see, so Brasidas starts hitting the town centre, and Thornlord doesn't really do anything to counter him. He just leaves his villagers, lets him go. But as I say, he was very new to the game, so we can't hold that particularly against him. But if we swap out to the middle, AF Road has walled those sections in there, so Super Ginger's totally out of the way. Silver Elite has walled himself in, interestingly going around the outpost, which is a really bad idea, given that a wall is stronger than an outpost. And he's just building up a little economy, really. Big Pollet, by far and away the safest of all the players in the game, owing to the rivers that stand between him and the way you've got to get through 2 teams to get to him. He's just chilling at the back, hasn't built too much really, just going pure economy, but not economy all that hard. As you can see, Dazui is really already leading the way, with the Malays' unlimited fish traps really supporting their, in the Imperial Age, unlimited two-handed swordmen. Dazui's getting his food up. Now, Brasidas pulls away from Thornlord Arthun in time, and owing in 2 parts. Number 1 to being countered, and number 2 because we did all kind of say, like, oh, maybe you should leave him for a bit. He is the newest player, and he's probably not going to really threaten you at all for the rest of the game, so maybe don't worry too much. But also because suddenly Dazui rocks up, and Dazui sends in the best counter he can to camels, a load of pikemen. Now, do remember that I have Yorgito's unit mod, so the pikemen do look different, but in order to make it work with Rise of the Rajas, I don't have the UI part of the mod. So the pikeman looks like that in-game, and that's what the pikeman's UI look like. It's the same with the camels, they look slightly different to the in-game counterpart. I also have the Architecture Overhaul mod that you can find on Steam, which is a gathering of architecture mods by myself, which is why my Middle Eastern nations have a kind of Byzantium feel to them in the Castle Age and beyond. But I did reset the castle because I do like that castle quite a lot. My, stopping him getting a boar there. But my camel archers are just finally heading out and starting to sprinkle what they can on AF Road's base. He hasn't really got anything to counter us, so we just start taking down his villagers. But back over the other side, Brasidas has been beaten back by Dazui. And Thornlord, let's cut him some slack, and Thornlord as well. And continuing the theme in the centre, nothing is really happening. Super Ginger is now bringing some long swordsmen, but not really. He's massing them, but not sending them. I found the town centre of my enemy and start running the camel archers just out of the way, just a little bit to safety there. Evro has now walled me in properly, but I'm also walling him in. Like for like, and start dropping some stables and whatnot over there, and I've abandoned the villagers foolishly. Brasidas is then going to just resort to defending that slot, putting a castle right in the pathway, which invariably I've since discovered is not the wisest place to put a castle. But Brasidas is much better than me, so I'm not casting aspersions on his skill or anything. But as has been shown to me, because I've done that many times, popping a castle in a small gap like that just makes it so easy for the enemy to drop you with siege equipment, with trebs or with cannon. Excellent shots on the mangonel there. That it's always more advisable to put the castle back so that the enemy has to come through that gap so you can swamp them from different sides, and then the castle protects any stragglers that get through, or kills any stragglers that get through. Back over on the west, I've at least forced Aelfred's villagers to all bugger off. They've all had to run away somewhere. My army of camels has gone back into the castle because I believe either Super Ginge forced us out. No, I just didn't want to. I didn't want to. In the same way that Brasidas kind of pulled back a little bit on Thornlord, it was reasonably unfair while I was attacking Aelfred because he had nothing to counter me. It was a bit of a rush. It was a bit of a, dare I say, dick move, if you'll pardon my French. But shortly I resume actions when it becomes quite apparent that Dazui has more than saved Thornlord and begins applying real pressure on Brasidas. So Aelfrode is not left alone for too long. But if we go back up to times 2, or just times more. Here we are, Brass is bringing down the palisade wall of the enemy. Look how quickly castles bring down palisade walls. It's just outrageous. Palisade wall has absolutely no use. And there we go, my camels go out again, start picking off some enemies, taking down a deer. His villagers start running away. And he sends in some spearmen. And with a little bit of running, shooting, we bring them down with no losses. However, at that point, Super Ginge arrives, and I get a little bit cautious because he's got more. And just more is a bit of a problem. Silver Elite at this point is still in the Feudal Age. Just have to remark that. Aelfrode is still in the Feudal Age, and so is Thornlord. So Thornlord's in the Feudal because he's been attacked, same with Aelfrode. But Silver Elite has no real excuse to be in the Feudal Age at this time. 34 minutes in, and he's still in the Feudal Age. That takes some doing. But it's not too much of a problem because he is currently safe. I do try and engage Super Ginger's army. I get completely annihilated and pull the camels out. But Aelfrode has now lost a load of spearmen with no payoff for that death whatsoever. And he's lost a few villagers here and there. He's going to be trapped in the feudal for some time. And Super Ginger, it's arguable, historians would look back at this point and debate that whether or not Super Ginger's lack of aggression at this point may have had some effect on the following, on the rest of the process, the rest of the game, sorry. Thornlord talking to us all there rather than just his own team, which is interesting. But Dazui is mustering something of an army, as is Brasidas on the other side. Brasidas' base, reasonably large at this point, nothing extreme. When compared with Dazui's, who's going all out for farms and food. Because, as I've already stated, the free two-handed swordsmen work wonders for him. The food-only two-handed swordsman, sorry. He also favours defensive castles in almost all regards and always builds his castles by his own base. Big Polyp Viner getting involved and comes and puts some structures behind mine. And now comes the crux of the issue. All the villagers I had chopping wood are moving out. We're training camel archers to deal with any threats we might come across. Just leave the camel archers there. There aren't enough spearmen to really worry. They'd probably drop 1 or 2 archers, but no, they drop none. And the villagers move in and drop a castle right on the edge of Aelfrode's base. Aelfrode has nothing at this point, and Super Ginger's moved his army completely away, not helping at all, unfortunately. His military buildings are toward the back of his base as well. His castle's right at the back of his base in a really weird location, it has to be said. Maybe to defend trade, I don't know. Maybe Dazui said build a castle there, let's defend our trade, who knows. But for whatever reason, he's built his castle at the back of his base. Back over on the eastern front, things are still reasonably stalemated. Thornlord is protected by Dazui, or the threat of Dazui. And Silver Elite and Big P still just down the middle. Silver Elite still in the feudal age. Even Thornlord is now ahead of him. And Thornlord, maybe not in score, but in terms of age, Thornlord is ahead of him. And Thornlord was attacked. His base, as you can see, is... if you were playing the campaign and you came across this base, that would be one of the little villages that gives you, like, free blacksmith upgrades or something. It's nothing at this time. But then my base is nothing to scream at either. I realise I haven't been back. I've been so heavily focused on the front that I've not really bothered with the back. My economy has never really been a glowing testimony. But my villagers have been moving around, dropping the castles where we can. And with the addition of all those camel archers inside the castle, I then start building petards for my pleasure. Aelfrode, knowing that he is out, starts sending his villagers against my... against my villagers. Silver Elite finally advances to the castle age at the 39th minute. And still stalemate on the eastern front, but not on the centre. And the petards now have taken the barracks is down. 2 sections of the palisade go down. The castle brings down more and more. Of course, this army here is the worst possible grouping to take on a castle. The castle outranges the mangonel and can drop mangonels in a very short space of time. And then, of course, it would just make short work of the long swordsman. But bringing in the Rams is good. The Rams and the Teutonic Knights will do at least something. Of course, Teutonic Knight's biggest enemy is pinned fire or focused fire, because they walk so slowly that archers are their biggest threat. Thorn Lord again, either speaking to everyone or the later versions of the game just show all chat messages to whoever you are. I'd be inclined to believe it's the latter of those two options, because normally it says the word all in front of it if he is talking to everyone. But to bring Aelfried out of the game properly, I am just building a small little army of petards. Clearing things out of the way there. There we are, that goes down. My army of camel archers. In the centre, still stalemated in the east, and still nothing happening in the centre. But it does all kick off soon enough. Super Ginge sends his army forward slightly, but is it too late as my petards go in against Aelfried's town centre? And yes, it is. Aelfried is out of the game. And here's where we learn that petards are phenomenally useful against battering rams, and that battering rams, whilst being very effective against arrow fire, every arrow does at least 1 damage. So 100 archers will do 100 damage to a battering ram and take it down very, very quickly. So we quickly make short work of the battering ram now that Aelfried is gone. But the destruction of Aelfried does prompt Dazui to start putting a bit more force on that eastern side. In terms of the score at the moment, Dazui far and away the best player, with Brassidas coming in second. So their economies must be very large. In the case of Dazui, that's always certain. He's got a lot of buildings too. Brassidas then sends out the message that Daz is going to be coming for him, but I am far too far away to be concerned with that. Although Brassidas has sent his army over to us, which is an interesting one. All of my camel archers are out. They are down here, forcing the hand of Super Ginge, just kicking him out a bit. We no longer need to worry about anything in Aelfried's base, of course. So we can start. I haven't paid any attention to the economy. I apologise about that, but it was a reasonably fastish pace game. There we are. Dazui is in the Imperial Age, along with Big Pollet, actually. And he starts, exactly as I say, very easy to protect his own trebuchet, and he just drops that castle, no worries. Brassidas then pulls his army out. Oh, no, he doesn't. He just allows his army to die, by the looks of things. I move up and build another castle on the edge there, as I've still got plenty of people mining stone. Haven't even built a second town. Oh, you can't build a second, of course. I forgot. Idiot. That's why everyone's bases look reasonably small, because you can't build a second town centre. Dazui going with his trademark mass rams. Not trademark, but he's one of the few players that does do large amounts of rams to bring down bases and buildings. And so Brassidas suddenly under the cosh, completely under attack, just as I am in the west, sorry. So, the battlefront now moves slightly closer. Brassidas holding on the eastern side, and me now knocking on the doors of Super Ginger's base. And unfortunately allowing my camel archers to just take damage. I just get them killed with no purchase, no consideration. And Brassidas' minor forward base is immediately taken down by the massive Dazui. And the pikemen are going off on a little adventure. The Pied Piper of pikemen, that trade cart, taking them all away. Brassidas switching up and using my Genitors to act for him. However, pikemen are quite a good little counter to Genitors, because they're just good against cavalry. So they bring the buggers down. But Dazui really running rampant into Brassidas' base now. And at the same time, I've managed to get more cavalry archers, and the strength of castles against walls is so good. A castle can do so much damage to a wall, a gate, you name it. Bad movement of my camel archers sees a large number of them go down, which is always a shame. But I start dropping siege workshops and starting to improve. But again, Super Ginge doesn't have too much yet to really take my castle out. He's got a trebuchet, and he is Imperial, and I am not. And that is his advantage here. Over on the east, when it became apparent that what was going to happen, I ordered Big Pollet, or I asked, sorry, if Big Pollet could go east. I realised I should have told Silver Elite to as well, but he just seems to be sitting in the middle doing nothing. This is, if he'll allow me to say it, one of the examples of where Silver Elite basically is not playing the game. I mean, I know that sounds very harsh, but as I said, it took Silver Elite 37 minutes to get into the Feudal Age, as I've already pointed out. And Brasidas gives me all of his resources. And then Silver doesn't send his army in, even when Brasidas is being attacked by the only enemy on that side, because we're all aware that Thornlord isn't really doing anything. And so it's just me versus Super Ginge, and the other two versus Dazui, or the other three versus Dazui, and yet they still get Brasidas defeated. Sorry, I wasn't there to watch the climax, but because of the town centre thing, it's quite, once you've broken through the outer defences, it's quite easy to take a player out, because then it's just a simple trebuchet shot, and trebuchets have a strange, stupid range, 20 or something, 16. So they can start really just dropping town centres from miles away. And they start dropping my castle as well there, which is always a shame. And so it's really a race against time now. Brasidas is out. Silver Elite is yet to do anything. And Big Pollet's army has been killed by Dazui's force. Dazui's little gathered force there, which is likely just going to now snowball and just wipe us all out. But I send in my own siege equipment to take out his counter to my camel archers. And they do that quite nicely. His trebuchet falls. And down go his units. I'm on my way to the Imperial, thanks to Brasidas. The last Brasidas giving me all those resources was actually an incredibly useful tool. Without them, I would still be a ways away from the Imperial Age. But with them, I'm at least on my way. So Silver and Big Pollet prepare to defend against Dazui. And Dazui can either come through and hit Silver, then go to Big Pollet, or he can go straight across to the back to Big P. And at the minute, I'm not making any headway down here against Super Ginge. We're both just sitting behind our walls, sitting safe. Big P sends me some gold, and I become the second to last to go up into the Imperial. And I start dropping my own siege. Super Ginge drops a little dock there, trying to... being clever. Oh, Brasidas got a trade car. Still trying to trade. And again, he sends trebuchets against me. But now that we're in the Imperial Age and we've got a university somewhere, there we are. I start preparing walls over here, walls of houses, thinking that if things are going to go awry here, I'm going to need a defense. But just stockpiling trebs and preparing some genitors. Silver Elite goes to the Imperial Age at the same time as myself. I am now the best player on our team, with Dazui still clearly ahead on their side. And with my own trebuchets nice and safe on the edge of that little peninsula, they start dropping his castle. Still a stalemate in the centre. Still both nations just preparing for the inevitable. If we swap over, though, to just have a little look, Big Pollet has got quite a lot of food and gold. So he could make some really good units at the moment, but he just seems to have a minor army of halberdiers. Silver Elite has got a ton of resources. Could easily build a nice, just sending trash almost continuously out. Thornlord now also joins in, so finally Thornlord does come and get involved. The castle's almost down, so I send in my mangonels to start attacking that wall. We've got to get through. Against the might of Super Ginge, who, interestingly... Oh, someone must have attacked him. Oh, that must have been Big P and I didn't see. Sorry. Or maybe it was Silver Elite, because somehow he's dropped a wall in between their two bases. Someone managed to get some troops into Super Ginge, which I didn't notice, and it's forced his villagers into the farms, and his men have died on the hill there. Ah, but the attack finally comes. Dazui's huge, well, huge for this game. Army starts moving out very ponderously, because they're moving together with the ram. And unfortunately, the grouped up mass on this side is just perfect prey to that onager. The trebuchets start dropping the gate, but units are just dying. We're starting to make our way through the wall now that the castle is down. Sending it using his own trebs against me. Gets a hit, he gets another hit. Jammy bugger. I've got an army of genitors and camel archers at the moment. But back in the middle, Thornlord joins in. And the fight over the gate can really kicks off, but with Dazui having ranged units and Silver and Big B having none, the fight is terribly one-sided. And Thornlord's halberdiers push through along with a few cataphracts. However, the Silver Elite has managed to somehow get villagers right into... I don't know how he's managed this, but somehow he's got villagers right into Dezui's base that Dezui is totally not noticed. He's got a tower there dropping the food of Dezui, and he's about to drop a castle on his... As such, I had no idea he did that. Absolutely no idea he did that. So he is participating in some ways. So good on you, Silver. However, his army is now dead. The two-handed swordsmen of the Malay start breaking through. Not especially good swordsmen. You can just get so many of them because they don't need gold. Big Pollitt's forward base is being brought down without really giving anything back. Tezui now, his score is now outrageously ahead. But Silver Elite gets his castle out. However, by the looks of things, he hasn't got murder holes. And it doesn't even look like his castle is even attacking anything, which is interesting. In the centre there, we have taken down the wall, and now we start sending in bombard cannons. But out on the eastern, or it's more western borders now, Dezui moves through in force. No answer to it. Dezui and Thornlord's army meets no resistance. Big Pollitt and Silver don't have anything really. He's got a few showtails, but showtails are easy prey to range. Dezui easily drops the castle with just a few trebuchets in his base. Super Ginge manages to get a cannon galleon out, so we send our camels and cavalry round. But we finally clear away all the wall. So we go back to ×2. Big P at least builds a castle, but it is easily taken down by the combined might of Thorn and Dezui, as Dezui's trebuchets bring it down. Big P's forward base now completely destroyed. Silver Elite has nothing blocking between his town centre and the base. He must be worried. Our small little army there makes short work of the dock. And the dock comes down and we start adding more siege to our little army. We've got to try and apply pressure. And the castle, it's not long until the castle's down. The elite cataphracts getting brought down by skirmishers. What a sad day. Well, skirmishers and pikemen, I suppose. Silver Elite trying to build something, just anything he can. I've still not really added any extra walls to that initial wall that I had there. But otherwise my base is still relatively untouched. Big P's little area here, completely untouched. Why Big P came and assisted me, I really don't know. I was too far away to assist Brasidas, and obviously I took out Aelfrode early. But Big P basically just abandoned Brasidas to his fate for some unknown reason and came and assisted me when I didn't really need the assistance. So things may have gone totally differently had Big P maybe gone the other way, but it's not to be. Silver calls his villagers inside the town centre, and Thornlord's indecision sees his cataphracts getting killed because he decides to take the elephants, then he changes his mind and he loses his cataphracts. But Dezui is not far behind, so it doesn't really make any difference. However, we finally start getting involved down here, trying to lure Super Ginger's army off the top of that hill where they've got superior range and superior attack damage to like-for-like units. Dezui taking quite a long time to make his way through Silver Elite's base, actually. My cannons just bring down those trebs, getting the annoying random shots that trebs get. I've recently learnt that Japanese trebuchets are an absolutely terrifying army when gathered together. And their fast firing and the randomness of their attack and their one-hit kills make them outrageously good against bombards, especially when you consider that bombard cannons don't have as much range. It can be a real nightmare to bring down Japanese trebs, and you need an awful lot of cannons to make it worthwhile. Super Ginger's army comes in piecemeal and pays the price for it. Every unit that's taken off that hilltop is killed, and it's just enough. Dezui now really making his way through. Silver Elite not lost the town centre yet, but all of his villagers are in his town centre. And Dezui's army, there's no hope to stop Dezui's army. The Super Ginge allows me to get some free shots there, pulling more units off the top of the hill, and as every unit comes down, it gets brought down by our range. And all of his siege goes down, and he sends in his army. Good shots with the onagers, or mangonels didn't put money into them. And our ranged army doing its job there. But then he sends in the longswordmen. The pikemen, of course, falling easy prey to arrow fire, but the longswordmen do hold up a bit longer. His own anti-ranged units, the skirmishers, there are just too few to stop the horde of the Berbers. Well, it's not very big at all, but a horde though it is. And his army goes out full scale. And we lure them in a little bit so we can get some shots with the siege equipment. And that we do. His army just seems to stand around and do nothing and is picked off one by one. We take virtually no losses and his entire force is brought down. Apart from, say, obviously the few on the hilltop there. The army moves in fully now as it's no real threat. Silver Elite resigns before he can even die, which is an interesting one. So now it's just me and Big P. Aelfrode is down. Big P's got his secondary staging base near me. Thornlord is still in the game though. Dazui, of course, has this horde. And there's nothing stopping there between them and my base. However, we have now taken the hill. Time is now such of the essence, I can't afford to just pick them off slowly, one by one. I move the trebuchets around, the cannons on top of the hill. And the Trebs are in range of the town centre. We're just going for it now. We are just going for it. Balls to the wall. The time has come. Trebuchets make incredibly short work of town centres. Never knew this until this game, but they absolutely shred them. It's almost 4 shots, and that's it. Town centre gone. So easy to be brought down. Super Ginge is defeated. It is indeed 4 shots, but we must be quick. So Super Ginge is gone. Aelfrode is gone. Both of them brought down by myself. Dazui, realising that Big P is not necessarily a threat to him, begins heading for me. He heads as fast as he can, his troops off. My forces just bring down the threats that are in their way. But we dilly-dally. We dilly-dallied much too long. Standing before us, Dazui starts sending his two-handed swordsman over to the gap there. There's a castle there, and then the town centre's just in reach. And the army moves off. First of all, we've got to find a way through the trees. That's easier said than done. As Dazui does make his way towards me, but he pauses briefly at the southern face of Silver Elite's base. And I start walling myself in. The wall's going up. Anything I can to just deter him. It's now a race. Very much a race. It is now whether Dazui can get to me before I can get to him. My army makes its way through the gaps, starts killing what we can, and heads on over to the edge of that hill. Our cannons picking off a few two-handed swordsmen there. But Dazui doesn't seem to send all that many, to be honest. Not too many at all. This is possibly a game... Dazui, if you play him now, this game was months ago. If you play him like right now, Dazui builds so many military production buildings, it just becomes an absolute slog to try and even stop him. And this game may well have had something to do with that, given that his military production is so far away from where I end up attacking him, that he can't get forces to me quick enough. And of course, two-handed swordsmen are weak to ranged units, and I have a horde of ranged units. And with the cannons and the trebuchets, we get through that castle pretty quickly. But up in the north, our wall is falling. I'm dropping castles with the outrageous amount of stone I've got. If you swap over to me, I don't have it anymore, but I did. Crazy amount of stone that I had. But I realise it is not enough. I've abandoned my villages because I'm just focused so much on my military down here. Dazui's army is brought down by onager shots, cannon shots, and our ranged units. But we press on. We have no time. They're through the wall. He hasn't brought any siege equipment up yet, but the foot units are making their way through, and there's the Trebs. I then just set everyone that is nearby to start building these castles. Anything to stop his troops getting through. Swapping back over to his side, though. We've made it through the gap. And we have just got to find his town centre. If you swap over to what I can see, we don't know where his town centre is. I mean, we're guessing, obviously, because the farms are there. But we have no clear indication of that. My army moves on, trying to split them to stop them taking too much damage, and that onager misses its shots altogether. Only kills one man. The trebuchets are making their way through. My castle is up. The third castle is about to be built. Just as the house goes down, what timing. All of the villagers get inside, start defending. His trebuchets are through, but they're not in range of the town centre yet. Back over on this side, Dazui's town centre is finally under fire from my trebuchets. And my army on top of that little hill starts holding out. And his town centre goes, and Dazui is out of the game. And had his trebuchet been in range of my town centre, I would have died shortly after that. But as it stood, his trebuchet was just too far away. And it couldn't bring down my town centre. And Dazui is defeated, leaving Thornlord alone versus me and Big Pollet. Thornlord sends his little army over to try and counter mine. Now, I say little army, it's probably got enough to hold us at bay. But of course, Thornlord's still over there, but not particularly doing very well. Dazui's trebuchet does manage to bring down pretty much everything. This is where basically everybody watching then called on Thornlord to just resign, because there was no hope that he was going to win now. He didn't even... Big Pollet alone would be able to take him at this point. And obviously I was there as well. And then through mismanagement of his troops, he gets most of them killed. But of course, just the power of the cataphracts with a few halberdiers backed up does do a lot of damage. Maybe the spaced out units, but he seems to go for siege equipment at the beginning, and that gets his units vulnerable to my units. And the cataphract goes down. Just as Dazui's army is out. He absolutely shreds my base though. And there we go, Thornlord resigns as well. Oh, and so the reason everybody wanted me to show you that video is because of how outrageously close it was between us. If Dazui had just moved his trebuchet forward and had started attacking my town centre, I would have died seconds after he did, because I had nothing to counter that trebuchet. But instead he goes for the castles, and that is what sees me drop his first, thus taking him out, because he can no longer control the trebs, of course, once you are defeated. And then Thornlord does resign, because he unfortunately would never be able to stop me and Big P. He doesn't have anything that would be able to get to the town centre in time. Not before I managed to get to his, with the destruction of his army. Also, Thornlord rather boxed in, unfortunately for him. So his only real ways out are through my armies. Either got to come at them from that way, which would see him come up directly into them, or he's got to come at them from round there, which again brings him basically directly into them. And the death of all of his forces meant there was nothing really more that he could do. So if we look at the end game stats, then me and Big Pollet were the last two on our team that managed to win, but Dazui still got the highest score. Militarily, I killed the most. Dazui lost the most, destroyed the most buildings, converted the most units. He had the largest army. Buildings lost though. Brasidas lost the most. Many congratulations. I got more stone, as you might imagine, with the castle drop at the end there. But Dazui got more of everything else than anyone else. However, I got the most tribute received, and Brass got the most tribute sent, owing to that last ditch tribute. And gold collected though. Big Pollet took the lead on that massively. Huge amount of gold collected. Didn't even trade. 0 trade profit. Silver Elite was the only one on our team who did. Oh, Brassus got a bit. 689. Castle Age Dazui 1755. Most of us around the 20-ish. 20, 20, 24, 22, 17, 36, 39. But then Imperial Age stats, not too bad. Silver, not too far behind. But Big Pollet was the first Imperial up. 14-ish minute mark. 46% explored there in Dazui. Most research was Dazui. Society Relic, that's where I did think Big Pollet might have got it from. 4 relics he managed to get. I got 6 castles in the end. The Villager High goes to Dazui at 96. And the timeline, Dazui just snowballing at the end there. An outrageous army size. But it was not enough. And the victory was ours. So that concludes the video. I do hope you've enjoyed this little foray into something other than Divide and Conquer. I thoroughly enjoyed playing these. I thoroughly enjoyed recording these for you. And so I do hope you enjoy this little break to the normal chain of events for my channel. If you have any questions, comments, pop them below and I'll get round to reading and replying to those. But until we speak again, dear friends, Navarra na den per mad melonin, and farewell.